You can go live. Oh,
Okay.
we're going live now? Delete this first part. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Freddie Gillespie, Chair of the Open Space Preservation Commission, and I'm going to read the required blurb. This may be our last Zoom meeting. We're required to go back in person, although there may be some revisiting of the ability to do Zoom meetings in the future. But for the foreseeable future, this is it. So here we go. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Southborough Open Space Preservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the general public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website at www.southborough.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch or participate in the meeting may do so in the following manner by finding the meeting at www.southborough.com/remote meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. So, having said that, I will start the meeting. We have a quorum. The first, let me get to my agenda. If you want to pull it up, Karen, that might be helpful, but I don't know that we need it. The first agenda item is minutes. So we have, do you want to read them out, Karen, which minutes we're reviewing?
Sure. So we have minutes from, let's see.
Is it March 26th?
So from March 26th, March 19th, May 6th, and May 25th. So 4 sets of minutes.
So if the first one is March
19th.
I've read them all. I just don't have the
Yeah,
dates.
so I have them here in front of me. If there's any changes you would like me to make.
Well, why don't we take them one at a time? The first one being March
19th.
March 19th. I didn't have any edits. Did you, Sarah?
No.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve?
This is Karen, and I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 19th.
Is there a second?
Sarah Rossitano, I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor? Karen?
Karen Cvikovich in favor.
Sarah?
Sarah Rossitano in favor.
Freddie Gillespie in favor. And now the next set, do you want to just make the motion, Karen? And
Yes, so I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of, get back to here. Too many screens here. Approve the minutes of March 26th.
And did anyone have any edits to that? I was fine with it. Sarah?
No edits.
Okay.
So for March
So wait a minute. That was March
26th.
So you made the motion? I don't know if I called
I
a
can make the
second.
motion to approve the minutes of March 26th.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Karen?
Karen Cvikovich in favor.
Freddie Gillespie in favor?
Sarah Rossitano in favor.
Okay, great. And then why don't we just take down the agenda on the screen, Karen?
Okay.
Because it's distracting to me to
Sure.
have the
fine.
minutes going on at
Sorry,
the
I
same
can't
time.
take
I know, I get it.
minutes. and share.
I understand what you're doing. I just can't do
I had
that.
two more hands. I could do that, but no.
Yeah, another computer screen. So that's March 22nd. Then we didn't meet in April, I believe.
No, so gosh, I really thought we had met in April, but I've gone over and over it, and it seems we did not meet at all in April.
I don't have any posted agendas, so
Mhm.
I think there were some we tried and it just didn't work out with people's schedule and we had to
I think
cancel
so
them
too. No,
or
no.
not even post. So the next one is for May 6th, I believe.
26, that's correct. Yes.
So is there an emotion there? Not emotion, a motion.
There's a motion. There was a motion there, but there was also a motion. So I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 6th. But before I do that, any edits or changes that either of you would like on the May 6 minutes?
You can make the motion and then we can add them.
Okay.
So go ahead.
So I'll make the motion to approve the minutes of May 6th.
Okay. Were there any comments? So I believe then we can have a second.
I was just going over them.
Okay, I'll wait.
The only
Fine, Sarah.
thing
Here in front of me, if you have any.
it says sent at meeting. I think you meant present.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Yes. Thank you so much for catching that. Okay, I'm making that change. Present at meeting.
I don't see anything else.
So do you want to second it?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Karen Sivich in favor.
Sarah?
Sarah Rossitano in favor.
Freddie Gillespie in favor? And then we had another one, was it May 25th?
May 25th was the last one, yes. And this was the one where we joined the trustee meeting in progress, and you didn't have a quorum until I joined because sadly I wasn't able to join right at the beginning. So
Yeah,
that's why
our meeting starts when you joined.
That's right.
That's
why
reflected
it's a little
here.
bit of a different time. Yep.
Okay. So is there a motion?
I can make a motion to approve these minutes of May 25th, unless there's any changes that any of you would like.
Let me take a quick.
It says adjourn 12:30 a.m.
Oh, PM. You have eagle eyes.
But that's all I see.
I wish I could.
Was
bring my
that the
professional-
time you left, Karen? It adjourned the time you left.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes, she had a
Okay.
hard stop at 12:30.
I know she did. I wasn't sure if she left a little earlier.
No, I had to log in for a webinar I was facilitating. So that's
Okay.
right at 12:30.
All right. So I will, is there a second? Did you second that, Sarah?
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Karen Svikovich in favor.
Sarah Rossitano in favor.
Freddie Gillespie in favor. So that passes unanimously. So that brings us up to date to the best of our knowledge with our minutes.
Correct. Yes. So I will send these approved minutes in at the conclusion of this meeting.
Okay, thank you. So the next agenda item is our native pollinator native plant initiative. Multiple items here. The first one is an update on the pollination preservation garden at the Beals Preserve. That's a partnership with the South Broken Land Foundation. And yesterday after the tour, I didn't make it over, but our volunteer coordinator is Catherine. She worked with the Scouts. We had a big event there a few weeks ago, and they continued on doing the soil prep, which involves laying down cardboard and putting wood chips on top to smother the grasses to make a planting bed for the plants. So that's moving ahead. We're keeping our eye on it. There's always the possibility we could speed it up by, putting more cardboard down and adding dirt to plant sooner. But right now it seems to be on course for either a fall or spring planting. The next item is the golf course, and that is a situation where we received CPA funding for invasive removal, the Japanese knotweed, and it also included, once the knotweed was removed, planting with Dr. G. Gear's plants. So that's another habitat of a sort. We'll be working on, it's a 3-year process to remove the Japanese knotweed, and we'll be starting year 2. This is the 2nd season. It will probably start later this summer. There's some of the prep work will have to happen now, but there's a prime time for treating it to be most effective. And then the next topic is the library pollination preservation garden. We are at a point where we have met on the 25th with the trustees, and we're waiting to finalize an MOU before moving forward. I had submitted an MOU to the library. They had one. They had made some edits. I thought we were getting together tomorrow to talk, but I got, to finalize it together, but it seemed that didn't make their agenda. I was getting ready to post our joint meeting when I saw that we really weren't there. And then I heard they were going to table that topic, which basically would have been killing the project, because we have to start planting soon. We have plants. The timing just is, it has to be now or it's not going to happen. So I was able to work with graciously Janet Maney. Said she had some edits that she could send over, what she thinks the library was comfortable with. I worked on that and then came up with what I think is without having a joint meeting, I'm not sure it's not agreed upon, but it is likely to be. So if we approve this, the only path forward, because of the no more Zoom meetings, and we don't have the capacity right now with people's schedules to meet in person. And this has to be decided this week, or the decision is that it doesn't happen. So we can approve this. It goes to the trustees. If they choose to approve it tomorrow, we move forward. If they come back with changes, we can't meet to approve those. So I'm going to ask for a vote of this commission to authorize me to accept any minor changes if I feel they're minor, knowing that we feel comfortable with whatever we decide on today. I hope that's not too roundabouty, but does that make sense?
Yes, I'm happy to make a motion to that effect.
Well, no, let's look at the document first. So let's make sure we all are on the same page with this document, okay? Because you guys haven't seen this revised document.
That's right, because you revised it slightly with the work that you did.
So can you bring it up, Karen? Because I'm not great at that.
Yeah, let's see. That's one of the things that you sent me. MOU library, there it is. All right. Just 1 second.
And if we move forward on this, because we're meeting today, we'll also have to make some tentative decisions about moving forward, even though we're not sure we are.
Okay.
If that makes sense, okay?
Yes. Can you all see it?
I can.
Great. I'm going to just make it a little bit bigger for people like me that have bad eyes.
Okay. So I'll just touch on the points, okay? A 3-year project that can be renewed. We're committing to the library to do certain work, and they're committing to allow us to use certain library space. The anticipation is that the project will be done in 3 years, at which point, we sort of turn the project over as built to the library.
Mhm.
We could decide to continue on with that. I would imagine whatever came out of that would be our involvement in some way, because we would have built this relationship with programming and other things. So it would be a really nice cooperative ongoing relationship, but we wouldn't have the same level of responsibility back and sorry, for us to the library and as well as for them to us. So we have set up a liaison, and we voted previously that, and I think it comes up later here, but that Sarah Rossitano will be our liaison, and I believe they voted Jane Davis to be their liaison, but that lays out that. Volunteers. So we're responsible for getting, this is one of the benefits of our involvement. We're going to try to work to build a core of volunteers, library centric. So our goal is not to keep tapping the same volunteers over and over again, and to be using the library as a, you know, their outreach to help find these volunteers, people who are connected to the library in other ways. So through their Facebook and their emails. And that eventually we train and help these volunteers come to a level of not just knowledge, but ownership and love of this area, that they will be the ones caretaking it with just very little oversight from us. So that's the programming. This is one of the things we've always talked about, this being a great outdoor classroom, and that we would help facilitate getting some of the program, similar to what we did yesterday at Breakneck Hill, and we'll talk about that later. But we had an amazing event there with Dr. Jagir. So you can do, I don't know that I need to read these line by line, but go slower, Karen, I'm sorry.
Sure.
So it talks about the collaboration and scheduling, and then the landscape installation and management, who's responsible for the planting, that we need to leave it so that DPW can do their job as well. And it was brought to my attention that, some of this will have to coordinate with DPW, who has ultimate control, I think, over landscaping there. So that's beyond us talking to the library, but us talking with the DPW as well. So that's where we'll be talking about ongoing maintenance and stuff. And talked about the project area at the bottom here. And then I'm not sure, I'm missing something here because it has, can you scoot up to the top?
Sure.
Yeah, it had something, and I don't know where it went in this draft because there are several drafts, that Ryan Donovan is identified as the, director of the library. And
Yeah.
is this, oh, here,
Yeah.
there it is. Sorry, I missed it. It was at the top.
Yeah.
The grant manager, Ryan Donovan. I think that should say that he's the library director. Can you add that, Karen? Give him his title. I'm not.
Can you see the change?
I see that. I don't see where I'm the project manager of the, did that just get out of whack?
I don't think it was there. I can add it.
Can you scoot up a little bit? Maybe it got out of place. Scoot down. It was above Sarah's name. Where's Sarah? Yeah, it was right.
Right here.
Yeah, it was right there.
You want me to add it?
Yeah, I'm trying to think what it said.
The vendor liaison?
No. Can you hold on a minute? This is worth me getting it right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I just have to go to my draft. Well, oh, you know what? I had something highlighted in yellow, and I think when I deleted the yellow, I deleted the language. I hope I didn't do that elsewhere. All right, just take me a minute to get a earlier version of the draft.
And I can save this under a different name, Freddie, and send you this most updated version.
Okay, it said, yeah, I'm sorry. Somebody's, sorry.
Okay.
I shouldn't say sorry so many times. I'm in the wrong document. It's on desktop.
If you want to cut and paste it into the chat, I can cut and paste it into this document, or I can just type what you say, whatever's easiest for you.
Yeah, I just need to open up the document.
Sure.
Sorry, somebody's texting me about a Concord had some success in getting rid of neonics.
Mm.
So, and I don't know how to shut that off. Keeps dinging. Sorry. All right. Okay, it says pollination preservation garden and habitat area. Project manager. Freddie Gillespie, OSPC chair. I'll text that into the sorry that took so long. I said sorry again. That's terrible.
You know what? My sister just posted this interesting thing that said, instead of saying sorry, say thank you. Say thank you for your patience as opposed to sorry. I liked that. I thought it was kind of good. All right. Times New Roman.
You have that?
Could you tell me one more time, Freddie?
It's in the chat now.
Perfect. Wonderful. I have it.
Okay. So you got that? All right. So that should be above Sarah.
Yep, it is.
Oh, okay. You got it there. All right. Project area. There's still maybe some not pushback, but some response back. That's okay. Can you scroll down a little bit, Karen?
Area.
Yeah. And then if there's a disagreement, which, I can't imagine it ever would get to this, but there's a process in place in case there is. Because certainly between the liaisons and us meeting together, and I don't see anything really controversial here, but you never know. So I think having that clause put in there wasn't a bad thing, but it doesn't mean we're expecting to use it.
Mhm.
Is there any comment from my
No, I had a chance to read this actually before the meeting started.
Yeah.
And I felt like it was really all encompassing of the things that some of these things are in the meeting minutes from the 25th, in terms of roles, in terms of Sarah's liaison role and your project manager role and Ryan's role in terms of managing the grant.
Okay.
So I thought this looked really good. It's a very comprehensive document.
So I know we have some folks from the library as attendees. Before, I think it would be respectful to see if they have any comments on this. But before I do that, are you both, Sarah and Karen, okay in agreeing that this is the document we want? If the trustees talk about it and want to make some minor changes, you'll give me the authority to approve that. Is, leaving it to my discretion what stays minor versus, changes our intent. Because the problem is, even if we talk with some trustees today, that they have to meet as a whole board tomorrow, and who knows what happens.
Yeah, I'm happy to either make a formal motion to that effect or just agree to it. But Freddie, you've been.
We'll make a motion. I just wanted to be sure before I see if there's any comments. So we don't. I'm not normally sure sure how to do this. So right now I see that
So we have
We have-
Janet Maney,
Marguerite and Brian
Marguerite
are
and
here.
Ryan
So if-
as attendees.
I see that. So if any of them want to speak, can they raise their hand? And I don't know how, is that something I would see?
I don't know if you can see. Oh, yeah, I see a hand raised. So Janet Maney is raising her hand.
So Melissa, can you allow me Janet to speak? Does that mean just raising her to a panelist? And unmute her and, hi Janet, did you want
Hi.
to add something?
I just want to say that nothing that's been talked about is anything we disagree with. We are, I mean, I can't speak for the whole committee, the whole trustee group at this point, but you know, we're very happy to move this along and get going on it. And nothing that's come up so far changes that in this document. So I think we're good.
Great.
Okay, thank you. And did anyone else from your, I mean, Marguerite or Ryan have something they want to say, or we can just move on if not. Well, is that,
I see one more person raising their
yes,
hand.
Marguerite, can you hold on a minute?
Like to speak. Marguerite, looks like talking is permitted. At least that's what the friend is.
This will
I don't
be-
know if we can hear
This will
you.
be so quick. I just typed in into the chat. I'm fine with the memorandum. It looks great.
Super.
We'll vote on it tomorrow and I hope to get it passed.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. And so that's great. I don't know that there's anything in the rest of this that we're going to talk about that that we need your input on, but you may wish to hear it. So you might want to stick around, because what we're coming into is, and Sarah, right before the meeting, saw an email because she, like many people in town, hadn't seen her town email. So we know we have to do, what was in that email, Sarah? Can you share? Not the
Yeah, I
email, but
just went, yeah, Ryan had emailed me and unfortunately I didn't see it until today because I only check the town email before our meetings, which I will change, but I guess that we need to, the DPW is ready to clear the sod and we need to mark the area with paint, which they will supply. So we have to go down there and get that. And then they need us to do the outline and then they'll go ahead with removing the sod.
Perfect. That's
okay,
great.
so that's great. So once we have the MOU approved, I don't know that it needs a formal sign. We can figure that out, but once we have the,
So Ryan just wrote in the chat, Freddie sent me the presentation already, so I have that. Thank you.
okay, that's good. And yeah, I knew he wanted it after his meeting, but I've been pretty flat out and I haven't been able to turn things. I know it just is saving it to PDF, but it just was something I couldn't get to.
Do you want, Freddie, for me to make a formal motion for you to be able to authorize you to make minor changes, or is it okay for us to just verbally say that that's?
No, why don't we make a motion that you're giving me because we approved that we're going to approve this MOU as stands, and that depending on feedback from the trustees, tomorrow you give me authority to make to determine if it's a minor change and to accept it.
So this is Karen, and I want to make a motion to approve the MOU as stands, and to authorize you, Freddie, to accept minor changes based on the discussion with the trustees to the document.
Okay. And Sarah, do you want to second that?
Yes, I second that motion, Sarah Rustano.
Okay. All in favor?
Karen Svikovich in favor.
Sarah Rustano in favor.
And Freddie Gillespie in favor. So we're done with the MOU until tomorrow. And this is just, we want to be in a position where this can just definitely move forward.
Absolutely.
So the next step would be to lay out the garden area as sort of flagged right now, but so the DPW can remove the sod. The thing we don't know is what's underneath the sod. And that may change. And one thing I'd like to make clear is in any of these garden projects, it's always intuitive is not quite the right word. It's always based on what happens next can change things. So when we clear the sod, what we find underneath may in fact not be plantable. We have no idea if that sod is on top of a pile of rocks. So we may need to be adding dirt. So that may be a new thing we have to be aware would have to come in. And there may be as part of the grant funding. So we'll take a look at that would be the first thing. We have a lot of the plants already ordered. We'll come up. The next part would be to get the final plan for the garden area, and we will share that with the trustees. Some of that is dependent. We ordered some of the plants early on, but we didn't do the final. I think we had about half of the plants still on a order to Bigelow's, and that wasn't finalized, and I have no idea what plants are left. So there's several other small nurseries we can look at to get the needed plants. So if I'm being clear here, outline the garden, take the sod off, see what's there. If we need to bring in dirt, soil, I should say. If we need to bring in soil, we will talk with DPW as well as some vendors to see what it would cost. And then we will reduce the plant amount by that dollar amount. And the next thing would also be the hoses. And that was one question we had about how to purchase those, because I haven't found a hose. Like lots of town departments are registered at Lowe's, but when the stewardship committee or the open space commission goes there, even though we use the tax exempt, we have to pay cash. And I can't imagine that everyone else in town departments are buying stuff with their own money out of the pocket and waiting to be reimbursed. Just seems like some department at the town has some way to be billed or has a charge card or something that could facilitate the funding of this. I don't expect it to be a lot of money, but we need to move on the hoses quickly because last summer they ran out. They sold out. And the last time I looked, they still had some, but that could change. So that's in the MOU, and that would be a question for the trustees tomorrow if they have any ideas on how to facilitate that. We don't need to have an answer right now, but it's just the question. So we will figure that out tomorrow. So the hoses and the watering system, which is coming out of the grant money, we just want help with the actual purchasing. Then the big thing is to get volunteers, and we really want volunteers with a library connection. And last spring we had one, I think a young woman reached out to Ryan looking to be involved. We'll follow up on that, as well as hopefully, Sarah, you'll work with your other liaison to see when there's Facebook possibilities, website, and emails and newsletters. But what I've seen happen with the volunteers at Breakneck Hill compared to last summer, which everyone wanted to do something because they were stuck at home with COVID, it's back to people are really busy and it's summertime and they're going away, we really may have some trouble finding volunteers. Doesn't mean we're not going to try, because this is an ongoing project, even if we don't get them at the beginning to do the planting as much. We will continue to develop a volunteer program, because ongoing maintenance, watering, and other weeding is the big one, will continue on. So just as I've been really worried about that, I have an opportunity. Another group I work with reached out that they have some students looking in a charter school looking to do some work in June. So I will be contacting them on Wednesday. We'll know which location we can bring them to, because we have several. And if the library moves forward, which it sounds like we can expect it to, we can start gearing those students up if that's something they want to do. So that was sort of like, just when you think you can't, you hit a big stumbling block, a little, like to call it, a little miracle gets dropped in your lap. So I haven't talked to the students yet, but they're an environmental group that really wants to do this, and they reached out to me to help them. And did I have a project? And well, yes, I do. So this is through the MCA, Metro West Conservation Alliance, the Native Pollinator Task Force.
Awesome. That sounds great.
Yeah, so we're very excited about that. And I think what I will do is write up a schedule. Sarah, you and I can go and look at the garden area. I'll bring Ellen Sousa back on board. Hopefully she'll have times now, because
Sounds great.
she's doing a nursery. She's also rewriting her book again, her second edition, I guess. So we could just make a list, which I don't have right now, but as soon as we get the go ahead tomorrow, we'll set up a timeline. And basically it's going to be, I think, looking at a calendar, if anyone's looking. We're coming up to the 4th of July. I know, how does time fly, right? So we have this weekend and next, and then it's the 4th of July. And I don't know how. So I'm thinking if we can make this happen, and I'm not sure if these students like to work during the week or on the weekends. I'll know more on Wednesday. That means we have this weekend and next to really get stuff done before the 4th of July. Not that we can't do stuff in July, but it gets harder and harder to get people who aren't out of town. So if we can try to write up an outreach email for volunteers and set the date for the 25th or 6th, we need to do that this week. And then it's the best we can do with the time we have, but get that out. Does that sound doable, Sarah?
Yes, I'm also not traveling like I was planned, so I should
gonna be home?
available. Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry that you're not going away, but I'm glad you're going to be home.
I mean, it's just not for as long, so it
Okay.
won't be an issue.
Okay. All right. So we'll work around your schedule and plan a work day. We can all attend if we're in town. But it looks like the 25th and 26th, 25th is a Friday. So the 26th and 27th are kind of the big days, except for I'm not around on the 27th because I have 2 big garden tours. And I'm not around on the 19th because I have a big garden tour. So I don't have to be the only one there. Well, I kind of do. For the first one anyhow. Let me see what the students say, because if they're weekdays, that changes things. That makes things easier, I think. Okay. So I think, does anyone have any questions about the garden, library garden?
Any questions from our panelists?
Well, in the chat, says library trustees can provide purchase cash if needed.
Okay, that's for the hoses.
Yeah.
One thing that's interesting, maybe I should ask now. The plan called for the flower garden area, which had been had been delineated with flags, so everyone knows where that is. And then we talked about the lawn alternative. And one of the plants we have for already ordered that could be utilized here would be for a section of lawn alternative. It won't be the whole area, but it dawned on me yesterday, we could get the prunella in one section, and it would be, so there's the plan for the, which we haven't gone over in detail, but the plan for the lawn alternative is several different plants in a good enough size to show what it would look like if you used it instead of lawn. And if anyone wants to go see what it looks like at the Becology Research Garden, yesterday we were showcasing it. You can walk on it, you can mow it, you let it grow tall enough to have flowers, and then you can mow it, or it can also be used as a living mulch. So we have a flat of it that turned a nice, one of the sections we were thinking of doing the lawn alternative. So I'll just ask any of the trustees. I can take a picture. I don't know if I have one for your meeting tomorrow, but it's outside of the flower area, but it's in the lawn area up and back by the stone wall. If you have any concerns about starting that a little earlier than we start the rest of it. Janet, Marguerite, or Ryan. Marguerite?
There. It sounds great to me, Freddie. Go for it.
Okay. Because that's not like a lawn out. It's not like a, should I say, it's not like a pristine lawn. It's this would be, it would look what it looked like last year when we first planted it. It looked like dirt with plugs, which we put a nice mulch around, a nice straw mulch. And then by the end of the summer, it grew in. And by this year, it's a very thick, lovely green mat of vegetation. So you just don't necessarily want to walk on it barefoot once there are flowers. But
It sounds beautiful, and I know there's a fair amount of improvising that goes on with building these gardens, and that's fine with me. So
okay,
go
great.
for it.
So I'll add that to where the trustees would clear the sod. And I will also ask them, one of the things we did at Breakneck Hill last summer, when we made planting beds, we had more than we needed, and we called them holding areas. So what we did after we had them all prepped, ready to plant, we put burlap or no, we used burlap, and then we put wood chips over it. So what happens is this year we just pull back the burlap and we have nice dirt that we just dug into and no weeds. So it's created a nice area for us to just pre-plant. So depending what what the DPW says, I might ask to do that for a section of the lawn alternative, that it will just look like a nice mulched area ready to plant in the spring. So we wouldn't have to get plugs in the spring and then do the soil prep. It would be just ready to go. Does that sound all right? And I will also double check that there's no erosion or any other issues with that area beforehand.
Again, that sounds fine. That sounds wonderful to me.
Okay, because what happens is for these plugs, they become available early spring and people snap them up and then they're gone.
Yep.
And so it's not like, if we could find some now, I would, but I don't know that there are any. And it's also budgeting. So we'll be also looking at, we'll be looking at other resources, and committee hasn't discussed it. I'm in a meeting, so I can mention it. I was thinking this could be a great CPA project for
Mhm.
the Open Space Commission, or jointly with the library, however we want to do it. We don't have to decide now, but it would be in the fall. Funding, if town meeting happens in March, we'd be ready to go with some of the shrubs and trees and uh, other lawn alternatives that we don't have funding in this grant here.
Yeah, Freddie, and also as you're talking about it, I think just the fact of using this technique in a place where a lot of people can see it will be teaching them about it, because I didn't know about it. Now I
Well,
do,
That's the whole point.
right?
Um,
So,
one of the things we say is when you're talking about lawn, when you look at lawns, particularly in a town like Southborough, it's a cultural habit that we have to have these lawns. And when you read the descriptions about why they don't make sense, it's almost laughable. But it evolved since way back even in George Washington's day. So there was this, the beautiful estates of England, and then people wanted to have it. And then after, I mean, this whole book's written on the lawn history, like after World War II, and everyone wanted a little piece of their lawn, the American dream, and they'd be out there mowing it, and what's spent, the chemicals, the gas, the time, and then there are other things. So the point is, how do you move people away from a lawn? Well, it has to look like something they know and like. So trying to find something that's similar but that isn't as ecologically damaging is the goal. And there are things out there. There's multiple ones, and not all fit everyone's desires or aesthetics. But we never say get rid of, like, well, I shouldn't say we never. Some people say kill your lawn, and like we're like, no, there's a need for it. People need a place for their kids to play, to play croquet or for the dog to romp. We just don't need an acre of front lawn that nobody ever walks on. So if it looks the same from a distance and no one's walking on it, why not use something different? So there's alternatives that some are not as easy, don't take heavy walking. Others don't look quite so green, but by showing people what they look like, and then like yesterday at the garden tour, everyone's standing around looking, and I just, knowing me, I just stomped right through it. I go, look, you can walk on it. And that makes a difference from looking at it and saying, oh yeah, you can walk on it. So other people tried walking on it too, and it felt nice. And you can mow it when it gets tall. And that's just one plant, right? So I think having it at the library is where people will see it and maybe want to try it at home. That's what, and of course we can have workshops. That's the other thing. We can have an expert talk about it and the different plants, why you would use them, what situation. But what we like to say when you're thinking about lawns, think scatter rugs, not wall-to-wall carpeting. So you have a little bit of lawn where you need it, and where you don't need it, you can put something else that, it doesn't have to be a big flower garden. But we just want to also showcase that this isn't about messy meadows. That was, the first people to go native didn't do landscape gardens. They did, they just let their lawn, they didn't mow it, and it got all weedy looking. And, there's other ways of doing it that look like what you would want for a nice, estate setting. So, all right. So that's it for me on this topic. Does anyone else want to say anything about the library plans for right now? Hearing none, I think it's exciting. We look forward to hearing for tomorrow's vote and moving forward. Does that sound good? All right.
Sounds good to me. It's great to see the collaboration that's happened since our last meeting. So it's good.
Yeah. Very exciting. So the next item is Halloran open space. I'm bringing that up. We have a CPA article to remove invasives that could also become, pollination preservation habitat. And I'm going to read this out loud because it's a chat. It's from Ryan. And it says, Ryan Donovan, to all panelists, the library greatly values our partnership with the OSPC. Thank you. And that's right back at you, Ryan. So, and thank you, Marguerite and Janet, for your help moving this forward. And I think this is going to become a project that this whole town is going to be proud of. And not just the whole town, but when I get to it, regionally, this is regionally important. And I'll I'll just say why, because it's the same topic. Yesterday at Breakneck Hill, we had about 50 people show up. I had two different tours, and the second one was for the regional group. And there were at least 10 communities from our watershed represented, with people wanting to make these types of gardens. And, our library, it will be a showcase for other people to come and look at and see how do you do it, and what kind of program can you have. So I know it's the Southborough Library, but it always makes me proud when Southborough is held up to be an example of how to do things right. And our library already does so many wonderful things. This will just be another one to add to the list. So, all right, back to if anyone else had anything to say on that, I really will start then the Halloran property. So the trouble, we can't do the invasive treatment there because we don't have access. So I think, we need to follow up with Sam again to see if he's had any luck with the DOT. And depending what he says, we need to reach out to the selectmen and see what they can do. Because we can't really do work there if we don't have a decent access. And there is public access up off Hubley Lane, but the town who owns the land would have to do something to make it obvious where that access is. Put a trail in, make it obvious, put a fence in. Right now, it looks like you're walking up someone's front yard, and I can't imagine that's going to be a feel good result for them. But we also have public land that's the only access to. So I'm hoping the town could find some way to get on the land we own without having to use a not great design. And it's not convenient because it goes up a hill and then you have to go down a hill and then walk just to get onto the property. So, does that sound all right? I'll reach out to Sam. He said he owed them an email. This is the Mass Pike. They have some extra land, or we look at it as extra. That would be a great entrance to the Halloran property. And then we could move forward with this project, which is a big bittersweet infestation. If we took the bittersweet out, we could maybe get some other plants in that are native and better for our environment. Any comments? Nope. All right. Breakneck Hill. Sorry you both were unable to attend, but as I just said, we had a great turnout. Dr. G. Gear was there and he was inspiring. We had not everyone signed in, rough estimates. We had 2 events with about 20-25 people at each. The Southborough event was attended mostly by home gardeners who are participants, some of them in our winter sow, and putting these gardens in at home. So this is spreading, and hopefully we can reach out to them to see if they will volunteer at the library as well. So that's another benefit. And then, as I already said, the other group was people wanting to put these types of gardens in, the pollination preservation gardens, like what we're planning to do at the library. Only the Southborough Library is the premier destination. Marlborough wants to do one at their library. They're under a construction project, so that's got to wait a bit. But the landscaping will be planned when it's installed for the construction, maybe to meet these types of project planning. Our goals for the region, And when I say our, did I just sound like a pilot? Our.
A little bit.
When I say our goals, I mean what we're doing here in Southborough is important, but the plants and the bees don't know town boundaries. And I represent you sitting on the Metro West Conservation Alliance. And, they were so impressed with the work we've done in Southborough. They asked me to start a task force for the Metro West region. And, we're spreading basically the type of things we're doing here in Southborough to other towns. And so it's still our goals are being spread around the watershed, 36 communities we're trying to reach. So that is very exciting. So then, Wildflower Hill Pollinator Gardens, we had a weeding workshop. And what happened is the Beecology Research Meadow. Oh, that's another story. The Beecology Research Garden wasn't quite up to snuff for the garden tour, so we held it at the Beecology Research Garden. We didn't have a ton of people show up. It's late in the season for volunteers that are going away on weekends now that we're not in COVID lockdown. So it's something to be aware of. We actually had volunteers come out Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So, we got a lot of work done. It wasn't a lot of weeding. It was just a lot of work to get the garden back from the winter. And so that went well. That was with Nikki Howell. We paid her as a consultant and she was really helpful showing us which tools to use. And, making work that would take me an hour, just goes a lot faster when you're using the right tool, especially for the deep tap root dock. So, and identifying some of the plants, is it a weed or is it a plant? We still have some little flags with question marks. And the rest of this, the Beecology Research Meadow, that's been planted, but we're not sure the condition it's in. It's meadows are tricky, and it's because it's research. We're not watering it or anything. Dr. Jagir he gave us the seeds. He designed the seed mix himself, and it's part of his thing. Like, will they come up without rain? Well, now we have rain, so maybe we'll see what happens next week. And we also have another garden area we can work on. This is with the stewardship committee, directly adjacent to the Beecology Garden. Next, in between the Ecology Garden and the community gardens, is a big chunk of land that the community gardens didn't use this year. So there's that. Throwing out seed workshops like we did last year. Are you interested in doing that again this year?
I thought the seed workshops were really successful. We got great input. It's interesting because we could do them, I guess, face to face again. But it was also interesting to have that webinar option, because I think that people participated that maybe otherwise wouldn't have. So it would be interesting to think about that as well.
Also, last year we had to do all the cleaning remote. I mean, it was what we went through with COVID. People having seeds, doing them at their, by themselves, or Catherine allowed us to meet in her garage. Two of us would meet in her garage in the winter with Carol Yozu did also. So it was like, here's some seeds and let's clean them. It was like, instead of all getting together and having fun. And I'm wondering, like, even if we decided to be outside, this is a perfect location. I don't think we're going to have seeds to collect, which is eventually a goal of the pollination preservation garden at the library. But we could certainly use that as an outdoor room to clean the seeds, potentially. You have to be careful because it gets windy and all of that, or doing it at the library like we did another year. And all of this is dependent on COVID and restrictions. But I think it's, I think it's an idea to keep in mind. Two other things are St. Mark's School. That's just down the road, continue to want to build a relationship with the school. They have some land that might be suitable for a garden, but also as we start programming for the library around this garden, including the schools that, not just the Southborough Public Schools, but Fay's School and St. Mark's School, they're part of our community. Ryan Donovan, the library director, has always, made a point of that. We should be inclusive of that population. And then the final one is the town pound. Town, I can't even say it, town pound.
Town pound.
Yeah. Do you know where that is?
I don't know where it is. No, when I saw this on the agenda, it made me curious. Where is it?
Yeah, I'd never heard of that.
So first, before I tell you where it is, do you know what a town pound is? It's an old pound.
I knew there was a dog off. There is a dog officer. Does
Yeah.
the dog officer bring the dogs that are picked up around town to this pound?
That's what one might think. But the pounds were historical. And originally, if your cow got out and was wandering around, they'd bring them down to the town pound, and it was for cows and livestock. And it's that stone-walled area at the back of the townhouse parking lot adjacent to the playground.
Oh, yes.
So
I
there's
do
a,
remember seeing that when I used to go to that playground.
and I would imagine, given the size of a cow and given the size of that little area, that it was probably the whole section. I don't know when it got, divided up.
Didn't they just clear it out a few years ago?
They did, and guess what it looks like now?
Just back to what it was?
Well, not back to what it was, but not great. And it
Overdone.
also is a dedication to our veterans, I think. So I just putting it out there to keep in the back of our mind, not that we don't have enough projects, and it's not high visibility unless there's kids involved, but it's just something we could look at in the future. So as if we do another winter sow, I don't know if you know, the big thing is people had way more plants than they thought. And if we did a planned one, we could have a planned, plant the pound and specific plants go in there. Because it can't, it's under the care of DPW and it's, town owned land. We'd have to talk to everybody, but I'm just thinking we could maybe make a benefit there. If we just got people to weed and add some of the winter sow plants in, it would be a net gain without even needing a budget necessarily. So I just put that on and wanted you to know about the cows, because that's kind of funny. It reminded me of when there was the Breakneck Hill cows. I don't know why I'd get calls at 11 o'clock at night. Freddie, there's cows running down Breakneck Hill Road. And I'm like, I got nothing to do with the cows. I mean, what do you want me to do? Go round them up? But yeah, somebody would have to go. I knew who to call to go get them and bring them back. But, can you imagine, though, when the whole town was just sheep and cows grazing? Be interesting to see if there's records on how many ended up in the pound. I'm off topic.
It is a little tangent, but it's a kind of fun, historical tangent. Yeah.
Well, we want to plant it, right? Instead of it just being weeds. All right. So there's the South Union School disposal. This was a leftover agenda item before the last town meeting. We decided we didn't support the disposal of it and all the open space around it. I think, I don't know if it's coming back for the fall town meeting or not. I think I've been charged to get some documents for the Community Preservation Committee on funding they spent on the building in the past. So when I get that, I'll have some documents that we could look at to see if any of it resonated in a bigger position. Because we took a position, but we didn't really talk about the size of so there's it's a grassy park in front of the stairs is that Highland Street, across from St. Matthew's? Can you picture it?
I think it is Highland Street.
Yeah. So that's a, not insignificant open space for that community. and a little park. And then if you go up beside the school, there's the Tot Lot Park, which is, still an open space, even though it's, it's not nature based, it's playground based. So those two parcels together, in addition to the viewscape that would be changed forever, I think we want to sort of maybe investigate a little bit more. What's the value? What would it cost to replicate that in town, in that neighborhood? What other open space is there in that area? How would it change the neighborhood if you had large condos there? And don't forget that that section is geared for 15 units an acre. So it's not about being anti-housing. It's just you're adding more density at the same time you're taking away open space in the densest built out portion of town. Thoughts that I haven't heard anyone discuss, so. And then the next, is that all right with you guys if we come back and visit this? It would mean
Yes,
revisiting
yeah.
it.
Yep.
I think we have to have some information and a better decision, then we don't support it for the fall town meeting if they're moving forward. I don't know. And then we have the annual town meeting. That was the one we just did, sorry. Wildlife habitat certification. Do you have anything there, Sarah?
I've been getting the occasional email from residents letting me know that they've certified. And they didn't know if I needed to know or not to track it.
That's great.
So I've just been responding, that if you're in Southborough, it counts for Southborough.
All right, so maybe once we get a little bit further away from COVID, we could have some kind of a program or something or not. I don't know. Anything you need from us at this time, Sarah?
I don't think so.
Okay. Karen, master plan update?
Yeah, so they had a meeting while I was in Florida, which I missed. I need to read the notes. But I have redrafted the chapter and incorporated in the rec department's edits and Kat's edits with trails. And we also identified the tables we want to delete and the tables we want to get updated. And happily, it seems we can ask the consultants to update the tables we wanted updated. So that's where it stands right now. We're waiting for those updates. And as soon as we get those updates, I'll send it to both of you just to have you have one last look at it before it gets finalized. But we're getting closer, I'm happy to say.
Great. Do you need anything else from us on that?
Well, I did. So we made good use, Freddie, of the time when we were at Breakneck together a few weeks ago, and we documented some of the key accomplishments since 2008. And I went back through some of the PowerPoints that you've had, that you and I have kind of worked on for some of the webinars that you've done. And I pulled a few pictures from there as well.
Okay.
So I added that all to the latest version. But if there are any additional pictures or items like that, I think that that'll help kind of spice up the chapter, is, to have some documentation.
Okay. It's been on my list. I just haven't gotten to it. The list is ever expanding. So why don't you tell me what you have pictures of after? You can tell me after the meeting even, and I'll see.
Sure, I can even
what
send
else.
you the one that we have thus far, if you'd like. It looks a little messy right now because the new tables aren't in there and stuff, but you'll get a sense of what I've included so far.
Yeah, so I wasn't looking for another review project.
Okay.
Just what pictures you already included.
Okay, I can let you know.
All right, thanks. Are there any other comments or discussions for today? The silence is silent.
All
right, so-
Ryan is still hanging in there. He's still an attendee, so nice to have you, Ryan.
I'm still here. I just have one kid that's just got off class and the other one's finishing up, so I'm on mute
Sounds
because,
like a lot there, Sarah.
Yeah.
oh, a couple more days.
Yeah, it's almost done.
Here's to fully in person next year, huh, Sarah?
Oh, yeah, September 1st.
Okay. So is there if there's no other business at this time,
Then I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn the meeting at 2:45.
is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Karen,
Which is in favor?
Sarah,
Sarah Rossitano in favor.
Freddie Gillespie in favor. The meeting is adjourned at, what time do you have?
2:45.
2:45. All right. Thank you. And thank you to the library director and trustees that attended, and look forward to hearing from you all tomorrow, and
Excellent.
on and on to happy.
And I will send the approved minutes off now, and I'm also going to send you, Freddie, the slightly updated version